of you are planning on how one day you'll be able to afford luxuries like your own private jet or super yacht, or employing a full-time housing staff, and maybe even buying a sports team for good measure. Yes, we're talking about joining the ranks of these lucky people with 10-figure bank balances, the world's billionaires. We know it's one of the reasons why you're subscribed to this channel. But today's video is even more closely connected than usual with the hot topic of how to become a billionaire, because we've done our homework and found out what business sectors most of the world's billionaires earn their big bucks in. In other words, the industries that are most likely to give you access to this elite group. So, stick with us until the end of our countdown and you'll find out which industry takes the #1 spot. And you'll also get to hear some insider tips into where these industries are heading in the coming years. So without any further ado, let's get some inspiration and look at the 10 most likely industries that can make you a billionaire. Number 10. Engineering. 4% of billionaires come from this sector, and to join them, basically you'll need to design a piece of engineering wizardry that can solve a problem that nobody's addressed before, one that's clever enough to disrupt an entire sector of the market. A case in point is James Dyson, who invented the world's first bagless vacuum cleaner. And since then, he's branched out to a range of other appliances, including washing machines and hand dryers. And thanks to these pieces of savvy engineering, he's worth $16 billion, making him the UK's richest individual. If you've got an idea that's smart enough and the know-how to see it through to completion, you could even do it without any formal qualifications in engineering. Believe it or not, James Dyson doesn't have any. Number 9. Media and entertainment. People will always want to be entertained. Music, films, TV, computer games, YouTube channels, good old-fashioned reading, or whatever form of entertainment people dream up in the future. These are always going to be a big part of our lives, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that 4% of billionaires made their money in this field. And social media means if you're an entertainer, it's never been easier to create a platform and brand yourself. People who made their billions from entertainment include Oprah and Jay-Z, and they both demonstrate that for entertainers to get to the ranks of the super rich, it helps to branch out from your core activity. In Oprah's case, publishing, and in Jay-Z's, fashion. Number 8. Energy. For a long time, this has been one of the surest ways to get wealthy. In the early days of the modern economy, many of the first super rich made their fortunes in energy, like oil tycoon John D. Rockefeller. And once again, 4% of today's billionaires come from this sector. We all consume energy, so this isn't likely to change. What will change is the type of energy we consume. The boom in this sector in the near future is bound to be renewable energy. The world is becoming greener out of necessity. Besides, renewable energy is cheaper, and unlike oil and gas, is unlimited in supply. They don't call it renewable for nothing. Solar is the fastest growing energy source. It now contributes less than 1% of the world's energy needs, but it's expected to increase between 5% and 20% in the next few years. Elon Musk has invested heavily in solar, with Tesla's subsidiary SolarCity. There's also huge potential for people who can come up with innovative solutions in other renewables, like wind power, hydropower, and geothermal, as well as eco-friendly energy storage systems. Number 7. Fashion. You may not have guessed the fashion industry was such a heavy hitter, but think about it and it makes sense. Clothing is more than just a basic necessity. We're happy to spend money so we can wear something that makes us look and feel good. And for a lot of people, one of the biggest motivations for putting in long hours is to be able to splash out on some high-end branded goods at the weekend. Also factor in that successful designers can make huge markups. That's because fashion items are priced by their perceived value more than the cost of commodities or real differentiation with other brands. If you hit on the right formula, there's a huge potential to make big bucks. The fashion industry has produced 5% of the world's billionaires, including Nike founder Phil Knight, as well as other familiar names like Giorgio Armani, Ralph Lauren, Domenico Dolce, and Stefano Gabbana. Number 6. Healthcare. Of course, one of our most basic needs is to stay healthy, and we pay huge amounts of money on it, whether directly on health bills, through taxes, or on health insurance. A large portion of this money makes its way into the bank balances of 6% of the world's billionaires, and it's no surprise that the pandemic has lifted more people in this industry up to billionaire status. And sure, being a doctor can make you wealthy, but billionaire? Probably not. The real potential for a 10-digit bank balance is in the pharmaceutical industry, or designing innovative medical devices, or founding a chain of private hospitals or clinics. The top end of the world's super rich in healthcare is taken mostly by owners of pharma companies, with 5 of the top 10 spots being occupied by Chinese billionaires. But with other players on the list from the USA, Germany, Switzerland, and India, if you've got the know-how and the drive, you can make waves in this industry no matter where you're from. Number 5. Retail. Whether we do it online or we do it the old-fashioned way in brick-and-mortar shops, we all need to keep on buying stuff one way or another. So it's no wonder that this takes a high place on our list, accounting for 6.5% of billionaires. Keep in mind, it'll probably produce fewer billionaires in the future. That's because most billionaires in this sector are heirs to fortunes that were built up over a long period of time, like the 7 members of the Walton family, heirs to the Walmart fortune, or the Albrecht family, who inherited the Aldi business empire. And what about the sector that's taking it over? Online retail giants like Amazon are classed as tech and business services, which we'll be hearing more about later. Number 4. Food and beverage. Whatever is happening in the world, we'll always need to eat and drink. And currently, around 8% of the world's billionaires come from a food or drink background. To become one of them, you'll have to figure out novel ways of producing food or preparing and distributing it. People on the super rich list in this field include heirs to fortunes, including members of the Mars and Heineken families. But there are also quite a few self-made billionaires in this group, like Thailand's Danin Charavanant, who expanded his father's chicken seed shop into a farming empire worth $15 billion. China's Zhong Qinghao, who made his money through bottled drink giant Wahaha and is now worth $12 billion. Or Mexican-American Daniel Lubetzky, who created the first Kind Bar, getting his inspiration from eating a whole fruit and nut bar on a business trip to Australia. He's now worth $1.2 billion. Number 3. Tech and business services. Whatever the sector of the economy, nowadays it relies on tech. Businesses use it to do transactions, to communicate their message to the public, for distribution and logistics, and much, much more. And of course, our private lives depend on tech too, to be entertained, to chat, to shop, or to hail a rideshare. And 9% of billionaires have made their fortunes in tech. And if that number is going to change, it's probably going upwards. New software and hardware is being developed and making previous versions obsolete faster than ever. And with the arrival of 5G and the opportunities it'll bring, it looks like this is going to keep on accelerating. It's the field that most of the world's most famous billionaires belong to. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and the world's richest person, Jeff Bezos. And it's a boom area for young billionaires. The list of self-made billionaires under 30 years old are mostly in tech. They include Evan Spiegel, founder of Snapchat, and John Collison, founder of online payments company Stripe. The key is to look ahead at the technology that's arriving or about to arrive and to see what opportunities open up. Big areas that are likely to produce billionaires in the coming years include AI, the Internet of Things, self-driving cars, virtual reality, and augmented reality, as well as an area that crosses over with a field we mentioned earlier, telemedicine. Number 2. Real estate. Not only does this industry fulfill our basic need for shelter, with the population growing, it's going to be even more in demand. And keep in mind that for most of us, buying the place where we live will be the biggest transaction we make in our life. So there's little wonder that huge amounts of money can be made in real estate, with 9% of today's billionaires belonging to this industry. There are several paths into it. You could start off as a real estate agent, or you could set up a construction firm, or be a supplier of construction materials. Of course, most of Donald Trump's fortune is in real estate, although his slightly over $2 billion fortune isn't a patch in the skies of other American real estate moguls like Stephen Ross, $7.6 billion, or Donald Bren, $16.4 billion, or any of the world's 5 highest players in real estate, who are all from China or Hong Kong, topped by Zhu Jiayin, who's worth $37 billion. But wherever you're from, if you're savvy and have a bit of luck along the way, this is a great way to make a fortune, as some of the largest markups in recent years have been in real estate. Number 1. Banking and finance. Think of any hugely successful company in any industry. Behind that success, there was somebody who knew exactly how to deploy the money and grow it. And thanks to their investment choices, they didn't just make that company a success, they also grew their own wealth big time. Banking and finance produced 15% of the world's billionaires today. Some of them made it as private investors, others from setting up investment firms, and others as venture capitalists. Warren Buffett is known by many as the world's greatest investor, and with a net worth of $90 billion, he's currently the 4th richest person in the world. That's a wrap for today. But of course, we would love to hear what you think. Which industries do you think will produce the most billionaires in the next 20 years? Let us know in the comments. And because you stuck with us until the end, of course, we've got your bonus. So, you're thinking of becoming a billionaire. Maybe you're thinking the best way is to choose one of these industries and work really hard, right? Well, probably wrong. Sure, strategically speaking, these areas do have the highest chances of turning people into billionaires. But remember, the world's billionaires come from a wide range of business areas. And if we're talking about a formula to become a billionaire, as if there is a simple formula for that, you can be sure it doesn't involve randomly picking an industry from this list. A much better solution is go with your passions and spot a need that nobody else is addressing. Remember, most of the people we mentioned in this video probably didn't set out with the aim of becoming a billionaire, and we're sure you don't need us to spell it out for you. There are only around 2,000 billionaires in the world at the moment. That's roughly 1 in 4 million of the world's population. And of the self-made ones, it's safe to say they all did two things. First, they followed their passions. You'll never be motivated enough to put in the long hours, and you'll never have those stroke of genius insights you're going to need unless you're passionate about the field you're in. And second, once you know what you're passionate about, you need to spot a need for something that nobody else has figured out before. Following these steps can't guarantee you'll make it as a billionaire, but it might just take you most of the way there. Thank you for spending some time with us. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video.